The Mr. Irrelevant podcast series continues. I'm Josh Lewin. A pleasure to have a guy by the name of Rob Couhig on with us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Appreciate you being with us. Rob Couhig is a guy who's done a lot of great things in America, notably Louisiana, where he is a lawyer of some renown, once ran for mayor of New Orleans, came pretty close, has been in all kinds of different industries and capacities, but now he's killing it overseas, owning a football club, or I guess soccer club. We need to be straight with that. Rob, are you now, when you're in America, you say soccer, when you're in the UK, you say football? Are you straight with that by this time?
Yeah, I'm pretty ambidextrous on the term. Yep.
So the fact that there are a lot of Americans now thinking I can go over to England and I'll figure this out. I mean, you're not the Lone Ranger over there, but how is it that you've already gained promotion with one club, Wycombe Wanderers? You're on the precipice of doing it again with Reading, a very storied club that was in a lot of trouble before you rode to the rescue. What's the secret sauce? How do you do this?
I don't know that there's a secret sauce per se. Let me go back and tell you how I got involved, and maybe that begins to answer your question. Among my other enterprises in New Orleans, we brought the Denver Zephyrs, a AAA baseball team, to New Orleans in the 1990s. Built a stadium for them, owned the stadium, operated the team, owned the team, and won the AAA World Series. So we understood, and amongst for the 5 years we had we were in the top 5 in America in attendance for AAA baseball. We thought we had a pretty good formula for what to do. People used to make fun of me. I'd take all my employees and send them to Disney World to camp, not to go have the experience, to learn how to smile, to learn how to make sure the customer came first. The apocryphal story that gained credibility over time was on day one, I fired a 17-year-old kid because he was just taking tickets and not smiling at the customers. And as I explained to him, if you can't be happy at a baseball game, I don't think you need to be with us. And so we did well. We sold the club. We made a few bucks. And my brother Kevin, who was my best friend and business sort of advisor, counselor, because he was a tremendous businessman, he and I had a couple drinks too many on a Thanksgiving. And he was a big English-style football fan. And he suggested that I could never do it in England, and that is owning a team and being successful. And as the old cliche goes, here, hold my beer. I said, let me do it. And so we came over. We did it a strange way. We did not start off buying a club. We lent money to a club so we could get into the internals of how they actually operate. My nephew Pete, smart kid, came over, and he really became a sort of de facto CFO for us on that club. We worked with him for about 4 months, got our money out, and began to look for a club. Then we found a club in Wycombe that we thought was right priced, that with good capitalization and with a little American smarts and audience awareness, we could do well with. Pete spent a lot of his time with the club. I did, Missy did, and we were very fortunate that in our 5 years of owning that club, they had the best 5 years in their 135-year history. Each one of those years individually was among the top 5. Got the club promoted, as you mentioned, decided to sell, thought I was getting out of the business, and a knock at the door almost simultaneously with me selling said, hey, we've got this other club. I looked at it. It's a distressed asset, my specialty. Let's go have a look. Next thing you know, I've got this tiger by the tail.
What is it about you, Rob, that lends itself to getting success where people say we don't think you can do this, whether it's a playful brother who says, I don't think you can do this, whether it's an entire nation that's basically saying, Yankee, go home. Why is it that you were able to persevere and show people that you're right and they're wrong?
Well, two things. First, I'm an idiot, obviously. But secondly, uh, I think I believe myself to be an emotional, all that, but I'm a pretty cold guy about business and about what to do. We learned it from my father. I learned it from my brothers. We have a philosophy that when you come into a business, a couple of things. First thing you should do is shoot the top guy in the head to make sure everybody knows it's going to change. Secondly, you begin to look for all the leaks, begin to plug the leaks, and you begin to save yourself some money. And third, you can't be afraid to look at it entirely different than the rest of the world looks at it. And so for us, particularly with Reading, more so than Wycombe, and in part that's because of the change in the culture of streaming and the like, we look at Reading as really being a content provider. We are now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, available to provide content to the world at large. Compare and contrast that to when we bought the Zephyrs, and you could barely get any TV on them locally. There was no such thing as the internet, literally, to do it on. Now I've got a group out here of 6 people. All they're doing is working on getting our stories out, and it only takes that much of the market to make it profitable. So, and look, I've learned to love the sport. I'd be lying to you if I walked in and said, "Oh, I had a great appreciation for the sport." I did not. But I love the speed. I love the violence. I love the way the game can turn in an instant. I'm still dealing with the incredible tribalism of English football. In America, your dad may have gone to see the Phillies play, and therefore you're a Phillies fan. But here, it's your great great grandfather who went to play, and of course that's who you're for. And the idea that you'd be for anybody else is just repugnant to him. And any change at all, makes them nervous because, after all, this is the great game. Now, what's going on? Unfortunately, well, there's two things. One, and most Americans will see it as an opportunity. The game is struggling outside of the Premier League for financial survivability. Most teams lose money in oodles of money. Most teams don't have a path going forward where they're going to make money, and yet they don't want to change. I love changing because I'm not married to the prior culture. And my goal is whenever we leave any enterprise, whether it's pest control or law or baseball, that the enterprise is doing better than when we arrived. And I think that's what we're about.
What is it about taking, as you call them, distressed assets? I would almost call them lost puppies. Wycombe Wanderers was your first club, and now Reading. I mean, this is not Liverpool. This is not Arsenal. I know those are more expensive to buy anyway. But these are teams that really, as you said about Wycombe, had not really been anything or done anything, have been told you'll never be anything. Reading hasn't been relevant for a very long time. Is there an attraction to you for finding something like that and making it relevant again?
Well, there are two things. First, and you can't gainsay this, the price is relevant. You can go in and you can pay for a club like this, which is a £100 million club, pennies on the dollar, because it has been abused so badly. I mean, we're sitting with a club that has a 24,000 seat stadium that's spectacular. I'm out at my training grounds, which is 100 acres on a beautiful lake, 30 miles from London. We have an academy that produces players. We have oodles and oodles of assets that if they were being handled right, as I say, I couldn't approach with my wealth. On the other hand, I can come in here and we bring our team in, whether it's Neil and Joe or Pete for a little bit of advice or whomever, and we begin to turn it around. How do we do it? Simple things. Apply common good business practices. Why are we actually doing this? Whatever the event is. Why are we paying that much? Is it necessary to our journey? And will it enhance us when we're finished? The question I often ask about some of the employees is, if they don't show up on Monday, who's going to miss them? And it's shocking when people are asked that question. Sometimes nobody raises their hand.
Do you have a philosophy? I remember reading about how Southwest Airlines for years and years just kind of made its North Star. We are the low fare airline, period. And anything that didn't fit in that bin was just kind of jettisoned. Do you have a North Star when it comes to owning a soccer team? Is there something where you point to and say, if it's not this, then we're not doing it?
Well, now you got me reminiscent about Herb Kelleher. I used to ride the Southwest back when it was an adventure. I think the guiding line is, how does it make us better than we were? Even, I'll give you an example, practical example. We're in the transfer period, which is, Americans are used to trading of players, but this is a very short January period in which players can move and the like. And one of the things my new manager and I, and the reason I agreed to hire him, he and I are in a belief, you're not just changing out players to get a new player. The new player must be substantially better than what I had. Or
otherwise you're just rearranging furniture.
I'm just churning my money.
Yeah.
When we're looking at our streaming package, are we doing something that makes it better for the consumer? We changed the provider of our streaming in order to do that. The way we sell our tickets in 2 weeks' time, and hopefully you're not producing this before then, we're going to announce the first subscription package for tickets in the UK that will have not just your season ticket in it, but will have additional games. It'll have your monthly podcast. It'll have, all kinds of extra benefits. Most importantly, so I can get away from billing you £400, I can bill you 25 or 40 pounds a month and give you and change out our revenue streams. Plus, we'll be adding the international package, which will allow people to become members of the club. So we're looking to do those things that have not been done. We look under every stone to see if there's a revenue opportunity or a value opportunity to give to our customers.
Is that, do you think, going to be part of your legacy in English football? That here's a guy that came in and looked at things a different way, that just because it's not been done before doesn't mean we can't pursue it?
I don't know that I have a huge ego, as you know, but I don't know that I'm ready to say I'm going to have any legacy other than a guy who's saved one club, saved another, and made it its best years. And before I leave here, this club will be hugely more successful than when I arrived. I am working with some other owners, though, to basically change the program in which we pay players. Right now, the 24 teams in League One last year lost £140 million operating just on player salaries. Forget about everything else. And there's been this idea that, well, it's a rich man's sport. We'll just get us a new rich guy when this guy goes. And obviously, I think I've been somewhat persuasive that we need to change that to, let's help all clubs operate on a rational business basis where they actually are allowed to make money. If we get to that, that would be my legacy. We're going to make some changes for next year. I try to get us to move towards more of an NBA model, MLB model, where all clubs have the same amount of money, because there is a huge disparity in English football. You're allowed to spend whatever you want, no matter how rich or poor you are, based on revenues and owner injection of capital. I think we're going to make some strides on that this year. And I would be surprised if within 3 to 5 years, we were not at a more of an NBA type financing agreement.
How do you get over the hurdle, Rob, not just in what you just talked about, but in general, of being the American who doesn't know the landscape, who doesn't know what he's talking about because he's not from here, he's not from this cloth? Do you get labeled as a rabble rouser or as a guy that's just kind of talking out of his butt because he hasn't grown up with all this?
Yeah. Look, with Wycombe, I had a big crutch. Pete, my nephew, moved over here. He became sort of a folk hero in Wycombe. He was able to interpret for me. On this venture, he did not come. His kids were in their last years of school. And so I've been burnt a couple of times. I am a naturally enthusiastic, optimistic, go get 'em guy. And I have made some statements about when things would occur, which I thought they would, and they've been delayed. And there is, and I don't know if this is English football or social media writ large, there is almost a savage group of people who are looking to come after anybody who has done anything in their lives or with anything to say, oh, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be saying that. Somehow you've ruined it for everybody. And so I've had a little issue with some of those fans.
Is it kind of an aha, kind of a tilt to it where they're saying, well, you said this, and they're going to hold you to it no matter what?
Yeah. And look, again, and maybe this is the American optimism. When I say things, I think it's going to happen. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen tomorrow, but I say it in a way that sounds like it's going to happen tomorrow.
Sure.
And I understand it. But for me, the aha moment is I had a friend of mine who pointed all this out to me and said, maybe you need to temper your way you talk with these folks. And I said, well, I'm never going to change who I am, blah, blah, blah. But I have tried to change it a little bit, and I think it's had some salutary effect.
In terms of just general aspirations, I mean, I think of a thing, I don't know what's more American than a good old fashioned fireworks show. And I know that's a great example that you can probably jump to, that what seems like a no brainer in the States, let's put some fireworks in the air after a game. Kids will have fun. Who loses? Why? Let's just do that. Can you talk to me a little bit about, is that a good emblem of the just a natural resistance that you run into over there?
It is amazing. When we had fireworks with the Zephyrs, it became a cultural event where you wanted to go to a Friday night game. Maybe you watched a little baseball, but you were certainly going to be there for the fireworks. With Wycombe, I began to introduce them, and we had a good, there was reluctance at first. Why doesn't he spend this money on a striker rather than fireworks? But people began to see it. Here, there's that same sort of coterie of people who and really it's not the fireworks. They don't understand anything other than why don't you spend all of your money on your players? They would rather not have clean restrooms than not have the premier striker that they could get. It's the two worlds are very different. And for me, I'm an entertainer. I want to put on an event people want to come back to. And I know for sure if I have fireworks, the kid's coming back. I know for sure if the bathroom's clean, the woman's coming back or the wife's coming back. I know for sure if my team wins, then everybody wants to come back. But I can't guarantee the team winning. I can guarantee the first two.
That's right. So in the time we've got left, Rob, I'm interested because, again, the soccer/football dalliance has been rewarding for you. Frustrating, I'm sure, sometimes too, but mostly rewarding. But you've done so many other things regarding businesses and law and civic duty. Just on and on and on about things that you're passionate about. Can you give just, I guess, some general advice to people that are passionate about whatever it is, and they're told whatever you're passionate about, in the grand scheme, doesn't matter that much? What would you say to somebody who's kind of fighting that feeling of nobody seems to understand what I'm trying to do here?
I think I don't know that my advice would count for much. I've always lived kind of serendipitously, and I've been very lucky. But on the other hand, when I decide I want to do something, it's best not to stand in my way. And that doesn't mean you don't get battered and bruised along the way. Doesn't mean you don't lose occasionally. But I think, and my wife talks about it, one of the things that we have in our family, I think, is a remarkably good sense of humor. We know that life's freaking ironic and funny and cruel all at the same time. And so let me use the fireworks. It should not go without passing that I bring fireworks to football over here. And on New Year's Eve, trying to climb onto a higher ledge to watch the fireworks on the Thames, I fall and break my bone in my leg and have to get a hip replacement. And so, but if you can't laugh at it, what good is it? Every day I get up, when I started off, I worked in a paper mill. And the first day I was there, a guy went into a grinder. And if you don't know what a grinder it is, literally where they take the logs, they put them in, they strip them, and they core them, and they break them into parts using sharp edged saws and acid. And the poor guy went up to his neck and died after that. And I realized that's not the life for me. So I love the life I've had. I've been gifted to practice law at the highest circles. I had a good fortune of getting into numerous businesses. But along the way, and Josh, you may have seen it because they did a little story about us at Thanksgiving. My family gets together and laughs. We pontificate, we argue, but at the end of the day, we're all laughing. And I think that's God's gift to us. Give you an opportunity. And if you succeed, great. If you don't succeed, find the humor in what happened, find the lesson in what happened, and plow forward.
That's so great. And just to kind of put a bow on it, Rob, for Reading, because there are going to be people, I hope, that find this podcast in the UK and will get something out of it as well, not just here in the States. What would it mean for the community of Reading if indeed they become no longer irrelevant in the soccer sphere, that they get back, kind of slingshotted back through your good work and your staff's good work into cultural relevance, sporting relevance, all of that? What would it actually mean for that community now that you're in that community and seeing it up close?
I think it would be, it's hard to imagine. Think about a community in the States where the Super Bowl, New Orleans, when the Super Bowl happened, everybody had a great uplift. What a great opportunity. How good do you feel? Here, though, it would be more than that because it's so ingrained in the community. They came so close to losing the club. And if we were to proceed, even a simple next step of getting to the championship, I think the community would go bonkers for it. And it would excite everything about the community. Even the businesses investing in other businesses would go up. It's huge.
If you get a chance, I'm just throwing it out there to everybody watching and listening. If you can find the Reading FC website, if you go on YouTube, they've got a tremendous channel there where a lot of this content that Rob and his staff have put together, you'll see how it sparkles. And I think, Rob, if you'll allow me to do a little commercial for it, you'll see the passion behind a lot of these outcomes, whether it's a little interview with a player, whether it's an AI compilation, there's a real fever behind what you guys are doing. I think that comes through when people check you out. So it's a testament to you and your staff.
Well, thank you very much. And it's really enjoyed this.
This is awesome. Rob Couhig has been our guest. I'm Josh Lewin. Please join us again. It's the Mr. Irrelevant podcast. Stay safe, everybody. Take care.